What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Drifting Lands by Alkemi. This is a shoot-'em-up, a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, as are so many of the games I play these days. It's a good way to get my attention, make a shoot-'em-up. This is fused with kind of Diablo, I guess, is certainly the way they're pitching it. It's got a lot of RPG-style progression and tons of loot for you to kit out all your stuff with. So yeah, a bit of a loot fest kind of side-scrolling shmup, which is pretty interesting. So before we head on in, we're going to look at the settings, as we so often do. This is a menu, but most of the things you want are just up at the top of the screen as well anyway, so you can get to them easily without having to sort of go through this ship hub, I guess. Your settings are up here. We have controls, first and foremost, all completely rebindable. You can use your gamepad or you can use mouse and keyboard, and they're rebindable for both in-game, as in when you're flying the ship, or in the menu. Which, for what it's worth, also, I will recommend, don't use the gamepad for anything other than the gameplay, and use a mouse for the menus. Because the menus are sometimes, I think, a little over-encumbered, really. There's a little too many layers of menu to get through to get to some stuff sometimes, a bit too much. And on top of that, using the gamepad, I mean, you can see I'm using it now. The gamepad, you can use it to control the mouse, but it's a really bad way of doing it. This could have been better implemented. Really, you just want to use your mouse to actually control the mouse cursor. Using the gamepad to control the mouse cursor is pretty bad in this. And then, on top of having extra layers of menu that I feel are sometimes unnecessary, yeah, it could just be done a little bit better. The menus are a weak point of this game, definitely. Display options, not a lot there, but it is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Graphically speaking, there's not a whole lot necessarily to write home about. It's a simplistic sort of visual style. It's a very pretty visual style, but nonetheless fairly simple. There's not necessarily a lot that you need to customize about it. The only thing is to turn VSync off, so you can have a nice uncapped frame rate, really. Sound, we have music and sound effects on separate slides, as well as a global volume, which is about as good as you want to see on a sound menu. Voice warnings as well, kind of just your warning, your energy is low kind of thing when you're flying around. Those sort of announcements, if you want to turn them off, want to throw caution to the wind and not be alerted to when you're doing badly, you can do that. Gameplay, these are kind of your quality of life things, turn things on and off as you see fit. The one thing that's off that you probably want on is ship hitbox. I would recommend the ships, as is so often the case with shmups. The actual hitbox of the ship is not the same as the sprite for the ship, so yeah, you probably want to turn the hitbox on. If we hop on into our how to play menu here, the game gives you a thorough, really in-depth guide to everything in the game in case you wondered about anything whatsoever. We're going to ships and classes, you can see the hitbox here. So you've got 3 primary classes of ship here, and you can see basically what's representative of the hitbox there. You can see there's quite a lot of sprite that, you know, is actually not going to take damage because that's not actually where you're going to get hit. That's fairly standard for shmups, that's fairly typical, but yeah, they don't show you where the hitbox is by default. And if you want to have it on, you can have it on, and that might just make your life a little bit easier if that's the sort of thing you're wanting to see. And miscellaneous, we have mousepad cursor sensitivity is gamepad cursor, and that's the words I'm looking for. Yeah, that's how fast your cursor moves around the screen when you're using the gamepad. And as I've already stressed, you probably don't want to do that. I mean, firstly, my issue with it was just that it felt too sluggish, but then when you turn it up to maximum, it's just very imprecise as an input method, and I don't like it. So just go with a mouse. It's so much better. Oh dear. Anyway, this is the meat of the game. This is our mission hub. We can look around the planet and see where all the missions are. We have 10 different difficulty grades. It's taken me about 4 or so hours to get to grade 2. I don't know if that was representative of all the grades, but I feel like it might be reasonably. So I think there's about 10 missions or so for each difficulty grade, plus a bunch of side missions and stuff, and all sorts of bits and extra stuff. You've got like these sort of challenge missions that put you on a leaderboard but don't give you any loot. You've got some other ones that these are just kind of these sort of triple missions almost just for farming loot in case you lose stuff in combat, because you totally can lose stuff in combat. And yeah, you got some side stuff to grind out if you want to make some more progress, if you want to make your ship more powerful. And There's plenty to see and do if you outside of just the core missions. The spiky missions are basically the core story stuff. So yeah, you got a side mission there, we've got the core story mission there, we've got the challenge mission there, we've got the basically what I would describe as loot missions there. So yeah, let's go have a look at our hangar so we can see what we're going to be doing here, because this is the meat of the min-maxing RPG progression here, and there's a lot going on. Let's start by looking at the ships to begin with. We have many ships. You don't just have the one ship, you have a hangar which will hold up to 8 ships. And you start out with... There are 3 classes of ship, and you start out with the standard versions of each. As you get to basically difficulty 3, grade 3, and difficulty 5, you'll unlock better versions, which you can buy and add better ships to your hangar, basically, and upgrade them individually as well. Each of them then also has their own loadouts, so you can customize each ship individually, and you're allowed to buy multiple ones. So you can see I've got a standard interceptor already. I can buy another one, I can add that to my hangar. If I want 2 different interceptors and I want to gear them out differently, I can do that. I don't particularly right now, but if you're so inclined to be like, oh, I want 2 different styles of interceptor with different skills and different weapons and different loadouts, yeah, you could go wild, go do that. That's great. Speaking of the different skills that would make every ship unique, we have a whole bunch of different ones. We have broadly 5 basic categories of skill, 5 advanced categories of skill, and 4 automatic skill categories. Each of these then, it's not immediately obvious, but each of these is basically one different skill that you can equip. You can only equip one from each class, basically, so you can only have 1 impact skill, you can only have 1 close range skill, you can only have 1 survivor skill, or 1 credit skill, but then there are different ones within that. So you can have a killing streak bounty. So if you kill enemies in quick succession, you'll get bonus money. That happens once every 8 seconds. Or you can instead equip one you now get less money per mission, but, which, I mean, basically the money that you earn in the mission, the way it works, according to the narrative, is you're working for a bigger organization and they get 90% of the cut of whatever you earn during a mission, so you get 10%. So equipping this brings it down to 7%, but all of the items you get are better, so that might be a good one to take. So Survivor, you've got basically automatic flee from the battlefield. Unless you're really, really good at the game, you should probably take that. Basically, if you lose the mission, you will automatically retreat from the battlefield. Your ship won't be destroyed, but you will lose all your cargo, you'll lose all your money, but your ship won't be destroyed, and that's the important thing. If you don't have that equipped, if you decided you wanted to roll with credit skills and impact skills, and not have an automatic retreat equipped, and you die, you don't get to automatically retreat. You lose your ship. You will lose the ship from the battle if you do that. So, it's worth taking one of those with you, unless you think you're really, really good at the game. But therein lies the customization, and that's what's fun about it. So we can pick all these. So you get 4 active skills, basically, and you can pick from these. So you've got 10 different categories that you pick 4 from, and each of them then has their own different abilities. We've got Conflagration, which is just burn everything around you for fire. That's burn everything around a point in front of you. Or just destroy all the bullets around you in exchange for upping what's basically kind of your combo meter, focus points. Focus mostly seems to come into play for later abilities, really. It gets you higher score, it says, but really it's these tier 5 abilities. I say tier as though they're better, they're all kind of side grades if we're really honest about it. Most of these abilities are just side grades. You're not getting better abilities, you're just getting different ones, and there are a lot of different interesting abilities here. So instead of your standard conflagration or bullet wipe, you got basically burn everything around you, but the more focus level you have, which the cap is 10, you can go up to level 10 focus, you deal more damage. So the standard one is 1000 damage. This one, you have to charge it up for 2 seconds and fire it, but if you've got a really good focus level, you could deal 2000 damage instead. Now, if you've not got it particularly charged up, you're only going to deal 650. So it's kind of an interesting side grade as well. I mean, if you're good at charging up your focus, it will probably be better for you than better standard conflagration. But if you're having trouble charging up your focus, you will get lower. And the way the focus is generated, it depends entirely on your ship as well. Each of the ships have their own different mechanics. So your Marauder, basically there's a spot on the screen at all times that you need to fly the ship in. As long as you're flying the ship in the target area, your focus will increase. If you're not, after a few seconds it'll start decreasing. The Sentinel is weird. It kind of encourages you to actually take damage, because as long as your shields are regenerating, then you'll regain focus. While your shields are not regenerating, again, you'll start to lose focus. And the Interceptor is... I'd say this one's a fairly typical shmup mechanic, which is basically grazing. As long as you are near to enemy bullets and lasers, not necessarily, not just enemies, enemies don't work, but the bullets and the lasers, as long as you're near to enemy projectiles, basically, then you'll gain focus. Well, yeah, I don't think that one depletes over time, per se, but if you take damage at all, then that'll deplete. So you're rewarded for taking risks with it. It's that kind of ship. As it is, I'm kind of digging the Marauder. The interesting kind of, you have to stay in this area on the screen and also try and kill everything is kind of interesting. Sentinel is just your big, fat, tanky, safe ship for people who want something a little bit easier. Marauder is, I think, a fairly standard mid-range ship. Interceptor, as I say, it's for risk takers. It's for people who think they're really, really good at shmups. I'm not that good. It's an interesting ship, but I'm not that good. Right, we've gone through skills, we've got attributes. These are basically your kind of your skill points you will assign. You don't really level up, you just spend money on it. When you complete a mission, you'll come back with money. You can either take your money to the market and buy gear from the market, or buy more ships if you want to do it that way. Or you can spend it on attributes. So I got my money up here. Each point will incrementally cost more, so I can spend 448 on having more power, the next one costs 463, and it'll slowly get more and more expensive, but my ship will get better. Putting points in power gives me more health and more power to my skills. Structure will give me better health and armor. Navigation gives me better health and weapon damage. All these points, as you can see, like 9 plus 17, my base navigation is 9, but I got 17 from my gear, because I've got all this different gear. And all the ships kind of all the different types of ships kind of have they have a slightly different loadout. Your Interceptors only have 2 armor plates, your Marauder has 3, and the Sentinel has 4, because it's the big fat tanky ship. Everyone gets an engine, everyone gets a power cell, everyone gets a thruster, everyone gets a shield, everyone gets a weapon, you get a helmet and 2 CPUs to put into your ship. And we got a whole pile of loot over here. You can buy more tabs to increase your inventory as you go along as well. And yeah, just hoard things and kit out your ships with them is basically the way that goes. So you can see, fairly standard, compare your gear. So that's less armor than my current thruster. It has bonus to repair skills, has bonus to shields, but I lose navigation, armor, and energy if I were to equip it. It has bonus movement speed, which is nice, but I lose some pickup radius, which is sort of picking up your items on the battlefield. So I'm not going to swap anything out now, because I think I've got everything kind of the way I like it. But you can see you've kind of got fairly standard different tiers of things. You've got your blue ones are uncommon, yellow ones are rare. On one of my ships somewhere, I think it may be on my Interceptor, is even like, whoa, no, that's not the Interceptor I want. That is the Interceptor I want. Over here you can see I've got a unique one. And you can see right down at the bottom of that one it says unique and flaws. So some of the most powerful items in the game kind of have their own unique things. So this particular shield gives me, when I pick up health on the battlefield, I also get shield recovery, which is really kind of cool. But it also has a flaw. The really powerful items have downsides as well. If I end up using auto retreat whilst I'm running with the shield, it has a 32% chance to break entirely. If it breaks entirely, I lose it. It's gone. So that's not fun. There is basically an easy mode of the game that if items break, you just have to replace them for a lot of money as opposed to losing them entirely. But normal mode, the game, I think they expect you to play it on, yeah, you have a chance of losing stuff. And as I say, if you're not geared up correctly, there's really a chance of you losing everything. That means some of the really powerful items, some of the flaws you can find on them are chance for retreat to fail. Basically, it may be a very low chance, might be like 1 or 2%, but nonetheless, there is a tiny chance that when you retreat, if you're doing badly in a mission, it will fail. You won't be able to retreat, and you will lose everything because you equipped an item with a flaw that said you lose everything. So this is why you're going to have multiple ships, and you're probably going to want to keep them all in reasonably decent flight condition. And to that end, that is also why you have these repeatable missions, is why we've got these ones here, which I think is what I'm going to show you the different ships. I think if we roll with... Have I got my Marauder equipped first? No, I got my Interceptor. Fine, we'll go with the Interceptor. That sounds like a good way to start things. So, I'm going to fly through these. We're going to do these incrementally. Guardian Hunt, sure. So, this is my interceptor. There's my little ship. And you can see the hitbox there on top of it. Honestly, I don't think I have paid a lot of attention to it, but you got the little hitbox, the little dotted line around my ship there. I've got a fiery ring ability. I've got my conflagration, which is fun. On B, I've got repair, which it's always worth bringing. Unless you're really good at the game, it's worth bringing a repair with you. There are health pickups, but you would scarcely want to rely on them, I don't think. And because we're you know, wanting to do a lot of grazing, we also got bullet time. So yeah, I mean, the way that particular one works is my focus charges just as effectively and just as well, even when I'm in bullet time. So that's a good way to get my focus up. Unless you have those advanced abilities, honestly, much of the time, the focus isn't really going to be super important. I'd say there are those score attack missions. And you might want to work on your focus for those kind of things, but in your standards, everyday story progression gameplay, focus isn't going to be really a big deal until you get to kind of late game. But I suppose early missions are maybe a good way for you to at least practice that kind of thing. So there is that. It's kind of only just dawned on me. I noticed it on the UI before. I think I've literally only just figured this out. Is basically you can kind of see the cooldowns around your ship as well, so that's kind of a useful extra bonus. You can see the cooldowns like by looking at the UI at the bottom, but you've also got those marks around your ship that say, yep, that's how long it is before you can use this ability again. Most of them on a pretty short cooldown, and stuff like the fire wheel I like to just try and keep up as much as possible. That ability in particular actually only depletes when it deals damage, but there are variants on the skill which deplete over time as well. So there's a lot of different ways to mix up the gameplay. There are some sort of kind of blink abilities that let you dodge through bullets. If there's a load of bullets coming your way, there are a bunch of different ways to deal with it. You can, you know, bullet time it and try and sneak your way through, which is totally a valid and viable strategy. You could equip a shield. You can pop a shield up and go for it that way. I've got a mine following me around there. I shouldn't have flown into that. Yeah, there's the bullet wipe. We saw a bullet wipe earlier. I'm low on health. I should probably use a healing ability. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can deal with the problem. And yeah, it allows for a very varied and very personalized kind of gameplay, and I dig that a lot. That's to say nothing of the sheer insane number of weapons there are in the game. I'm just using kind of a fairly standard twin shot here. It's just a slowish firing weapon that deals a bunch of damage. If that hits things, it's gonna kill them. Let me just scooch my way through a wave of bullets there. Don't think that got me. Get that. I'm not sure what those guys do, but they have what appears to be a shield around them. They seem to be like drawing stuff in. I'm not entirely sure about all of what all the enemies do. It's not immediately clear, but you learn. A lot of them early on are just really just going to try and fly into you. I think those likely to be a lot more interesting enemies later on. Most missions will end with kind of a boss fight. You can kind of see the mission tracker up top. You've got basically waves. It shows you which way. I'm on the second to last wave here, and the last wave is marked with a little exclamation mark, which is, yep, there's going to be a big bad in that section. So maybe that's advice that I should be popping my healing ability a little bit more often. And that was great. I popped bullet time and then flew straight into a bullet. Go me. So yeah, maybe I should use my healing abilities a little more judiciously, just to make sure I'm topped up for the boss fight to come. Yeah, I say it's a boss fight. It is more of a mini boss fight. Early on, these bosses are not going to be a big deal. But the final mission of each section, was that it? That was a boss. Yeah, I guess I'm overgeared for this level, really, if we're honest. But then the final mission, mission 10 of each section, will actually be a actual boss fight, which is a little more challenging. Something they kind of don't explain particularly well until you find out the hard way, I guess, is that most enemies, if you fly into them, you'll take damage. Sure, that's reasonable. The bosses, if you actually make contact with them, if you hit them, if your hitboxes collide, yeah, you just die instantly and fail the mission. This was, I mean, I guess that makes sense. They're a lot bigger than you, but it was not explained. I just expected to take damage when I accidentally bumped into it the first time, and to my surprise, ta-da! No, you lost the mission. Sorry, try again. Oh, okay. All right, fine. Fine, well, let's head back to our hangar. So I earned 30,000 or so there, but I only get a 10% cut because the rest of it goes to running the whole space station, right? We have our loot box here, so we're going to want to empty our holds. Each ship has their own hold. I mean, to be fair, some of the missions require you to take stuff with you, but in most instances you're just going to want to make sure you've emptied that. They also kind of act as a limit. If you pick up too much stuff in a mission, maybe you need to airlock some stuff. And again, that's used kind of as a story mechanic in some places. They're like, you need to take, for example, some armor plates to a client that you're delivering for, and you need to airlock them out so that they can collect them, which is kind of a cool, interesting idea. We've got a couple of items that we picked up there that have got different icons on them, which tells me that they are blueprints. So if we go into the store and then we flip the tab over to blueprints, then I can sell those to them. If you try and sell it to them as supplies, you will just sell the blueprints and won't actually keep the blueprints. So now if you, which again, that's kind of my point about the menus being a little over convoluted. But now they're into blueprints, now we can see these things that we've got. So weathered solid cell, you get a limited number of quantities of them. See, there are 11 copies of this particular one. There are 24 copies of that because it's kind of a cheap, crappy one. 12 copies of that because it's okay. The better they are, I think the less copies you tend to get of them. I mean, just a chunky armor plate, which is just very, very crap. I can have 39 of them if I want. I think they're generally decent value for what they are. I think if you're buying it from a blueprint, I think they're cheaper than they otherwise would be. Sometimes you can get some good stuff, but it depends. I mean, you can also sell specific items. I mean, I've got this weathered single laser there, and I could sell that for a blueprint as well if I were to transfer that across. If like create a blueprint from that, it will cost me 2,600 to make a blueprint from this laser. But then I would be able to make multiple lasers from it. They're not all going to be exactly the same, but they'll be roughly similar. So if you find an item you like and you're like, well, I might want more of these in the future, you can turn it into a blueprint and then make multiples of them. Whether that works for the unique items or not, I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it does. Blueprint creation, 4,000 right there. So, suggests maybe they're not quite as unique as the name suggests. Then items that you have created from blueprints, you cannot turn back into blueprints because that would be silly and an infinite loop. So they don't permit you to do that one, so don't try that. We've got a quick auto sell here. It's like, sell all of your crap. Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks. Okay, so back to our hangar, because I want to fly with a different ship now. We're going to take all the different ships out for a spin and show you all the different ones. So we'll go with the Marauder. This is my favourite. I've just got a new weapon on this, which I haven't tried out yet. It is the Trident. Trident, I think, is kind of it's a fairly traditional kind of spread shot kind of affair. So, there we go. You can see the glowy spot in the middle of the screen that I need to stay in. There we go, there's a Trident. It fires 3 bullets in different directions. I admit I've not been very creative in my varieties of equipment for my ships, because I kind of really like the fiery ring. The big fiery ring is great. Just hang around near them, and that. And then I've also got close quarters with this ship, basically. I've geared the ship up a lot for fighting at close range. If I kill an enemy at close range, all bullets nearby get removed once every, I think, 4 or 5 seconds or so. So I've also got conflagration, because conflagration's great. And then I've also got this spear ability, which allows me to keep... I'm not allowed to move while I do this, and that's going to get me into trouble if I start doing that too much. But it is a very powerful ability. If you can get close to like a big enemy, say a boss or something, and you want to deal a lot of damage very quickly, it's not a bad little way of doing that. And the spear is pretty effective at doing that kind of thing. Let's just try and get some of these mines. I should not have done that, there are bullets everywhere now. But I did clear it out. That is a mini-boss. This level has been quite quick. I've got quite a powerful weapon, so I think that's going to be pretty easy. Oh, I see how it's a mid-level mini-boss. Ah, I see. Okay. Pick up the loot. And onwards. I can destroy the mines if I were to use my conflagration, so I should probably do that. We've also got on the UI down there, it kind of shows you a little fire ring, which is nice. Sort of the amount of charge is left on it. So you start off with 100 charge. Each time it deals damage, it decreases by 5. So you can see how much is left on it. But you've also got the visual indicator on the screen, because the fire just becomes less intense as it becomes weaker. I should probably heal up. I should try and get my shields back if it's all possible, because I'm just being too reckless. This is the eternal problem of trying to talk and focus on dodging bullets at the same time. It has never worked well for me in the past, and I suspect it never will again, but hey. I'll tell you what, I will shut up for a moment, because I want to let you listen to the soundtrack as well, because I do think this game's got a pretty nice soundtrack. It's got some good music, so let's listen to that for a moment. It's not always that often the soundtrack really stays with me on the game, but this one's kind of... there's a few moments where I've been playing like, damn, this sounds really good. I like this soundtrack. I like the soundtrack a lot. I don't know if it's necessarily one of the greats that would be a standalone listen to the soundtrack on its own just because it stands up under its own merits, but as part of the game, it's definitely a good one. Also digging the visual style as well. I mean, the name and theme kind of reminds me, mostly because I'm playing a lot of it at the minute, of Worlds Adrift. So, you know, drifting lands, Worlds Adrift, it's a whole Shattered Planet thing. But visually, it's kind of got a very similar look to it, and I don't know, it's a good look. I like the look a lot. It's a good style. So there's a lot to like about this game. I think it's pretty cool. So this is a long mission now. I guess they vary in length, and it does give you a bit of a warning before you go in. It says that, oh, no, oh, I failed. Oh, I lost. I flew into big nasties. It does give you an indication before you go in exactly how long it's going to be. I lost all my cargo because of the automatic retreat. So I get no money. I get no loot. Let us return to the hangar. Whoopsie. Fortunately, I don't have anything that's going to break immediately doing that. I've not got anything crazy exotic on there that will break because of that, so everything stays intact on the ship. I think as you get deep into the game, you're more likely to get really cool stuff that has increased chances to break. So, I think in the early stages you're alright, but later on there's going to be much higher risks of things just going forever, unless you want to fly with a fairly mediocre kind of ship. So I've got this one I haven't actually invested a lot in, so I think my weapon's a little weaker on this one. I've got a laser on it. Yeah, some of the level 3, level 4, level 3 items. These are not great items. So I haven't upgraded my Sentinel in a while, and it shows. And that's actually more actively reflected on the map as well, because you can see some of the grade 2 missions are now telling me, oh yeah, that's going to be difficult. You got a little color scale up here that says, oh, easy missions that are a little bit too easy for you are grey, missions are about standard are white. As they get tougher, they'll go pink into sort of a deep purpley color, and then red when they're at the top end. So these missions are going to be a bit tricky in the ship I've currently got equipped, because well, my ship's kind of under-equipped at the minute. So those are tougher. Those are pink now. We're not bothered about that. We are going to go step back down to the white mission on here, because it is, again, it is a chained mission. Each of these missions are chained together. You have to do them 1, 2, 3 in order. Because I retreated, and we got to start over at the beginning again. So hey ho. I mean, I get to keep my loot from the first time around because I banked it. I took it back and put it in my cargo. Took it out of my cargo hold and put it back on the. Back in my stash, in my loot. Oh yeah, I got. I don't even have the fiery ring equipped on the ship. Oh my! I got a fiery blade equipped on this one instead. We got a nice, powerful, fairly powerful laser. Early on, it was a very powerful laser. It's now a moderately powerful laser, which is a shame. A good way to sort of burn through mines, I guess. It clears them out. So it's a different style of ship, as I say. You kind of want to take some damage with this ship. I mean, that's literally what's intended. So my focus there is, now it's going to go up. My shield is regenerating. Fairly slowly, but it is regenerating. As long as that's doing that, my focus is going to go up. If my shields don't regenerate, my focus won't go up. So they don't mind you taking too much damage in the ship, because, well, to be fair, they actively encourage it. So you should do that. So we should probably hang around some mines. Oh, there go my shields again. Oh, well, they're going to regenerate. The ship's got a lot of health. It's a big, fat, slow ship, but it's got a lot of health. It'll stay flying for quite a while. You can take a few hits. It's rather the point of it. And then I think you take less damage because you've got armor as well. So each of the shots is going to deal less damage to you. And I can heal up. I got my healing ability. So good. So my focus up to level 5. That would be pretty good, I think, if I had any abilities that were dependent on it. as it is not the case. When it says score, a little bit of me is led to wonder if money might be what it refers to, but then again there are those missions that don't have money and are a score attack kind of affair. So it might just be for those missions more so than anything else. But again, it's something that the game doesn't necessarily explain as well as it could. It's when it says your focus gives you more score. Are we talking money? Are we getting more money for doing that? That's not abundantly clear, honestly. I feel like maybe, but I'm not sure. It'd be very difficult to find out, to be honest. I do seem to get more money as I progress, but that's almost to be expected in RPG-style progression. Things are going to get more expensive as we go through the game, so yeah, of course the game's going to give you more money. That's how RPGs work, right? It's frustrating me that I haven't got a good way to fight things behind me. I got a bubble here, that should get me through stuff. It won't stop me against direct collisions with things, but it will stop bullets, and I should probably be a bit more... I should use that a bit more often than I do, to be honest. I also need to try and remember to put abilities on the same keys. That's entirely my doing. I keep putting the same ability on different ships, but assigning them to different keys, which is throwing me off sometimes. But that's in no way the game's fault. That's just my general incompetence, I think. So these little guys get taken out with that. We've got a boss incoming soon. There he is. Whoop. Let's pop that. That'll keep me safe. Oh, it ran out. That won't keep me as safe as I thought it would. The laser also does more damage as you get close to the enemy, but I probably don't want to stay too close. I don't think it deals that much more. I think it's a fairly minor drop-off. Probably heal up as well. It's weird sometimes, I think it's just because the mines are still on the screen, but yeah, the game seems to take a little bit of a while to wrap up once you kill the boss. It's like, yep, no, the mission's gonna finish soon. And then we fly off the screen and we're done. So there we go, 22k gets us 2.2k in the bank. We can take that back to the hangar. And were we so inclined, you could spend that on the market, or upgrading it, what have you. Honestly, I probably should spend a lot more points on upgrading my ships than I have been doing, because I've been saving a lot, but part of me's like, hey, I'm gonna need to buy ships later. But not too much, that's not terribly soon in the near future anyway, because it's going to be, I need to get to grade 3 first, and I've literally only just hit grade 2, so there you go. But that is a quick look at the 3 ships and most of the gameplay. Obviously there's a lot more to it. There's, like I say, there are 14 different classes of skills, and each of them has like 4 or 5 different skills within each of those classes, and they all work differently, so there's a lot of depth there. And again, just changing out your weapons makes a lot of difference. I mean, at a casual glance at what I've got in my inventory, I mean, what have I got here? Let's sort everything on L tabs by, there we go, by type. So again, this is not exhaustive, but we have got a wave gatling, we have a single laser, we have an autocannon, a dual gatling, a high frequency gun, a single laser, double cannon, triple gatling, rail gun. We've got autocannons, tridents is the fun one that I like. I know there's shotguns in there. There's a bunch of different stuff that's all going to play very differently as well. The gatlings, I don't know, I expected more of a fast firing thing, but it doesn't. It fires them in this kind of weird wavy pattern that requires you to rethink how you position yourself to hit the enemies. I mean, that weapon is way more powerful than my current one, but guess what? The laser goes directly in front of my ship. It's really easy to aim. The dual gatling, I'll do 548 more DPS, which is great. But on the flip side, it's going to be a lot harder to aim the dang thing because the bullets are going to go in weird patterns that I'm not really anticipating quite as well as the laser. So there's a lot of different ways to mix things up. A lot of your gear is, to be fair, just kind of gear slots. It's, like I say, is your almost Diablo-style loot fest. Like, pick up a bunch of things and then sort of dredge through the piles after each mission and find out, what have you got that's good? Is it an upgrade? Shall we swap it out? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we should just sell it to the vendor. But if you're into kind of loot things, and I think a lot of people are into loot type things, well, there's a lot of loot type things in there and it's fun. But there you go, that is a quick overview of Drifting Lands. This is out today on Steam, available for £13.99 or your regional equivalent, available on Windows and Mac, and I do recommend it. I think this is a great little title. I think it seems like there's a lot of replay value in there. I mean, something they stated on one of the recent update patch notes was endgame is about 30 hours into it. Depending on how much you get into kind of doing all these side missions and leaderboards and things, I don't know, it might take you a little bit longer. Like I say, it's taken me like about 4 hours, 4 and a bit hours just to get to difficulty 2 in the game, so there's plenty to sink your teeth into. There's a good amount of content in there. So that's a good little game. It sounds good, it looks good, it's got some interesting stuff going on, and there's no boring upgrades. There's no like, oh, this is plus 10% damage. It's all, hey, this thing works weirdly now. So those are cool. Drifting Lands, everyone, thank you very much for joining me. I have been Meroka. I will see you next time.